Yeah, Doug.
I'm going to use this if you don't mind. All right. We are not alone. In this vast universe, we Earthlings are not alone. And a trip I took with my family in 1998, road trip around New Mexico, kind of made me think that we aren't. What trip to the land of enchantment wouldn't be complete without a stop in Roswell? Now everyone here probably knows about the incident of 1947. Aliens crash landed, bodies were dealt with, they tried to cover it up. Well, they have a museum there, and it's kind of hokey. It's about everything extraterrestrial, and the kids wanted to go, I wanted to go. We went to this little hokey museum. It's basically in a strip mall. It's just a little storefront, not anything glamorous like we would have here in Philly, some of our finer museums. And we enjoyed the afternoon, and then we decided to head up to a town called Ruidoso for a chuck wagon supper. On the way up there, the three kids are in the back seat, and the two older brothers are teasing their younger sister. The aliens are gonna get you. The aliens are gonna get you. The reason they were doing that was because their heads had been filled with an afternoon of almond eyes, oval-shaped heads, and elongated bodies. And after a 3-hour dose of that, that's where their heads were at. We get to this chuck wagon supper, and if you don't know what that is, it's basically a bunch of picnic tables. You get on a chow line, you get your barbecue, you get your beans, and you get your corn on the cob, and then you sit back and enjoy some corny humor and entertainment. Sitting across from me, random seating, is Al Scott from Roswell. He's an 80-year-old retired school teacher, and I strike up a conversation with him. I said, hey, we were in Roswell this afternoon. What's your take on this whole thing? He says, well, I'll tell you, I didn't see anything, but I know Glenn Dennis, and I don't believe he's making this up. Now, Al is there to celebrate his wife Louetta's 80th birthday. This is how they go and celebrate in Roswell. They go up to Ruidoso, and they sit at a chuck wagon supper. He told me that Louetta likes the yodeling. So he says to me, he goes, nothing ever weird happened to me, but Louetta did have an experience one time. About 15 years after the Roswell incident in 47, she was out back taking in the plants because she'd heard there was a frost warning that night. So it's late afternoon, she's like, looks up in the sky and she sees this object. And the only way she could describe it was that it had colors like nothing she'd ever seen before, and it seemed to suck up all the sound. She watched it for a few minutes, and then it quickly veered off to the northwest, disappeared over a mountain ridge. She ran inside, she tells Al about it. Al says, I didn't see anything. Go check it with the neighbors to see if they saw anything. Nothing. They tune into the evening news to see if there's any reports of something odd. Nothing. Paper drops on the porch the next morning. They flip through it. Nothing. A number of years go by, and Al sees a poster for a famous UFOologist coming to the local university to give a lecture. Hey, Louetta, let's go. Let's go check this out. After the lecture, they end up meeting this fellow, and she relays the story of what had happened to her a number of years earlier. And the UFOologist presses her for a date, or a time for when this exactly happened. She could give him a year, and she said it was somewhere before Mother's Day. I know that. That's all she knew. He goes, well, on April 24th of that year, there was a report of a highway patrolman on duty in Socorro, New Mexico, and he radioed in that there had been a plane crash and there were little children running around the wreckage. When the backup arrived, they found no plane crash. The officer was lying on the road next to his patrol car, unconscious, and they took him to the hospital. When he came to, he immediately started ranting about the need to rescue the children. And the doctors assured him that there were no children, there was no wreckage, and you have a large bump on your head. Incidentally, Socorro is northwest of Roswell. And we got back in the car after this chuck wagon supper, and we drove down this twisty, windy, dark road back to the hotel. And the three kids are in the back seat. And my wife says to me, "What were you and that guy talking about?" And I proceeded to tell her the story you all just heard. And the kids, who had been teasing each other still in the back, and they were basically coming down from all the soda they drank, said it suddenly became eerily quiet. It was as if the story had sucked out all the sound from the back seat. And that night, despite the fact that we had 2 hotel rooms booked, all 5 of us stayed in the same room. Thank you.
Doug, everybody. Nice job.